In this lesson, we're going to explore a powerful layout element in Editor 2.0, the Advanced Grid. While it's designed for complex layouts, especially those involving overlapping elements, it can actually do a lot more once you understand how it works. To help explain how the Advanced Grid functions, I've gone ahead and rebuilt this same section in Classic so we can compare the two approaches side by side. If you gave it a shot in Classic too, what stood out to you? What felt different compared to building in Editor 2.0? Take a moment to reflect on the experience. In Classic, I was able to add all the widgets directly into the column and easily adjust their alignment right from the editor, just by dragging the widgets into place. Notice as I drag these elements that there is a small little number that appears next to the widget. When I visit the widget spacing settings, notice that same number appear as a margin value. In Classic, it may not be immediately obvious, but when you position a widget, whether you're using alignment controls or just dragging it into place, you're actually adjusting spacing values behind the scenes. And here's an important difference. Unlike Editor 2.0, Classic doesn't allow you to set alignment at the column level. Instead, alignment is handled individually for each widget. There's no centralized control for aligning everything at once like in 2.0. Editor 2.0 has a similar feature that allows you to manually control the alignment of your widgets. So if you prefer the editing experience in Classic, you may want to try using a layout element called Advanced Grid, which can be added from the Widgets panel. To show you how the Advanced Grid works, I've removed all the widgets from the last column, and now I'm going to rebuild it using an Advanced Grid instead. After adding the grid, make sure it stretches to match the full height of the column. Next, let's add our first widget. Before we add the other widgets, let's take a look at this single widget spacing and alignment settings. You'll notice that this widget we just added has a top margin of 209 pixels. But if I move it up within the Advanced Grid, you'll notice that the value updates to reflect its new position. Let's move this widget to the upper left corner of the grid. Notice that the margin gets set to 0. Within an Advanced Grid, you can control a widget's placement in a few different ways. By dragging it to the desired spot, adjusting the spacing values in the design panel, or using the widget's alignment settings. You'll notice that the alignment controls look very similar to those in Classic, but Editor 2.0 introduces a few additional options for more layout flexibility. To help illustrate how alignment works, I'm going to add a second widget. Watch what happens when I align the text widget to the top. It snaps to the very top of the Advanced Grid, overlapping the existing widget. As mentioned earlier in the lesson, the Advanced Grid is designed primarily for overlapping elements. So if that's your use case, you can absolutely make it work and fine-tune the positioning using the arrangement settings in the design panel. In our example, though, we don't want the widgets to overlap. That means we need to be intentional about spacing and alignment. Specifically, we'll want to add appropriate spacing between widgets to maintain a clean layout. If you plan to use the Advanced Grid to build your sections, like we did here, it's important to understand that you're responsible for manually aligning and spacing each widget. That includes setting the correct margins, and just as importantly, making sure the units you use are consistent throughout. A common mistake among new users is dropping widgets onto the Advanced Grid without paying attention to spacing or unit consistency. This often leads to mismatches between how things appear in the editor and how they render on the live site. So, when in doubt, consider using columns or inner columns for layout structure, and reserve the Advanced Grid for situations that require overlapping elements. That said, if you're comfortable with how the Advanced Grid works, you've got the flexibility to build however you like.